Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Today is Thursday, May 8th, and we had a monster day in the markets. The Russell, which is on your screen right now, is up close to 2% just today. The yields on the 10-year Treasury were up 2.6%. Dow Jones, S&P, NASDAQ, all in the green, albeit less than 1% each. Some of our positions had monster gains today, 19% for Bitdeer. We had Dogecoin do close to 15% and still on its way up. These are all things that we ended up loading up on in the pullback. If you're not a PIF member, do become a PIF member to see our trades and when we move and become part of our community. By the way, leave a like. Let's get this live to 100 likes like we did last week. Really appreciate that. Gold is down 3,300, and it does appear that the market is a bit more risk on than risk off at this particular moment. The VIX remains elevated, though. Level of uncertainty in the market, volatility in the market remains elevated. Definitely has dropped from its peaks, but it's still at 22. If you compare it with the last few years, that is an elevated level. So let's talk about what happened today and the rocket ship that the market appears to be on as of this hour. Tesla up 3.14%. Not bad. We'll take it. Most of the Mag 7 is in green. And a lot of the defensive stocks, the risk-off stocks, they are in red. And what happened? Well, a trade deal with the UK happened. That is between the United States and the United Kingdom. And based on the Truth Social account of the White House, it says that basically UK tariffs were dropped from 5.1 to 1.8%, whereas US tariffs went from 3.4% to that flat 10% rate, which seems to be the minimum that anyone's going to get. And by the way, the UK had it easy when it comes to tariffs because they were actually running a deficit with the United States. That is, the United States had a surplus with the UK, and yet they were slapped with the 10% tariff. And even despite the fact that they're basically the number one ally of the United States. And they're also claiming that the United States got unprecedented access to billions of dollars of market where it can sell a bunch of stuff that it produces, as you can see, ethanol, beef, cereals, fruits, etc. The question in my mind is, how accurate is this screenshot of or summary of the tariff deal? What is actually hidden in the deal that is not necessarily being talked about by the US administration? I'm assuming the United Kingdom didn't just roll over to the US's demands. Now, if it did roll over, then it's likely that not many more trade deals will happen. If the United States is not showing any flexibility and is insisting on sort of one-sided agreements, then it's unlikely that we get a lot more trade deals done. But if this was actually a good deal wherein both sides walked away a little unhappy with what they got, and that's really the best type of deal, then this could signal, okay, the U.S. administration is actually serious about getting deals done, and maybe we see a bunch of other deals done soon. So we shall see. Donald Trump said the agreement with the United Kingdom is a full and comprehensive one that will cement the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom for many years to come because of our long time history and allegiance together. It is a great honor to have the United Kingdom as our first announcement. Many other deals, which are in serious stages of negotiations to follow. What I heard from the Japan negotiators is that basically they were not going to cave on everything that the US was asking for. And so we'll see. Again, if the US administration is being reasonable with its uh, negotiation demands, then we might get more deals. If the deal with the UK was actually one-sided and the summary that we're seeing is actually close to reality, then perhaps the UK decided to sort of bite the bullet and do this deal because of its need for the United States, and not many other companies or countries may necessarily share this feeling, this thinking that the UK has. So we'll see. All right, and markets are back in greed territory, solidly in greed territory. Bitcoin is up. Oh, yeah, I just glossed over this. Didn't mention Bitcoin is over 100,000. It is flirting with, since it's on its upward trajectory, let's say it's flirting with 104,000. As I mentioned, if you'll recall on this live, the price of gold and the correlation between Bitcoin and gold suggests that Bitcoin could go a lot higher from here in very short order. And indeed, that's what's happening. And correlated with Bitcoin, we have Dogecoin, which tends to move in a very narrow window, a lot more than Bitcoin does on a percentage basis. And if you're wondering, okay, well, how big could Bitcoin get? Well, as a store of value, if you look at the other assets that are used as stores of value, if you look at just fiat currency, that's at close to 130 trillion, equities 135 trillion, bonds 318 trillion, real estate 370 trillion. Some percentage of that conceivably could move to Bitcoin. And even if you're just comparing it to gold is at 22 trillion. So more than 10x, 11x basically what Bitcoin is at right now. So I would say if you want to know the potential for Bitcoin's price, it is right there. Ethereum's price, I thought this was very interesting. This is from Jack Mahler. Ethereum's price each time Bitcoin hits 100,000, you can see it is on a downward trajectory, folks. First time Bitcoin hit at 100,000, Ethereum was at $4,000. Now, even though it had a nice day, it's up 21%, close to 22%. It is at $2,200. So don't get fooled by the day-to-day movements. There are some assets that are simply better than others. Which brings me to the rules for the road. As sentiment seems to be changing in the market, but I expect a lot of volatility, by the way. News is going to be fast coming. Some of it will be positive, some of it will not be. But rules for the road when you have days like today, you want to make sure before days like today come around that you're in the best assets. They're the ones that are going to do the best. They're going to have the most resilience on the way down. They're going to do the best on the way up. Understand value versus price. If you're thinking, should I take profits now? Should I not take profits now? Well, do you understand the value of the thing that you're holding? Compare that to the price. Are they in sync? Has one ran ahead of the other? Act accordingly. Don't chase. Don't FOMO into stuff that's going up just because it's going up without considering the second bullet here, which is value versus price. Take profits. Make sure you have take profit prices for the assets that you hold. And when you go above that, don't convince yourself that those limits that you set no longer apply. Do what you said you were going to do before you were excited by the price movement, and take profits. Take, as I always say, you should take enough profits that you feel good if things go down again, and you're happy as well if things continue to go up because you've retained a position. And when you're tempted to take a screenshot of your portfolio, show it to your friends, show it to your wife, show it to your family, show it to your husband, anyone. When you're tempted to take a screenshot of your portfolio, that's your sign to sell. So instead of taking a screenshot, stop yourself and take profits. So with that being said, let's go to questions very quickly. Wa alaikum salam, brother Ahsan. When will PLL have the Bitdeer moment? Gotta wait on that one. All depends on lithium prices. Lubna says, brother Rakaan, thanks, Lubna. I really appreciate it. Brother Rakaan means it when he says join PIF and become a member. He wants you to get the most profits. His mission is to help us all become wealthy free Muslims, to help ourselves and our communities. This is indeed true, and thank you very much, Lubna. Hussam says, Assalamu alaikum, brother Rakaan. Wa alaikum salam. Hope you're doing great and as happy as us, the PIF members, with how the portfolio is doing. Alhamdulillah. Oh, thank you so much, Hussam. I really appreciate that. Thoughts on dropping ETH if I get to entry point and moving to something else? Yeah, Hussam, to be honest, I'm not really a fan of ETH. You saw that chart of every time Bitcoin hits 100,000 where Ethereum has been, and the trend is not positive. Hassan says, Alhamdulillah for everything in PIF. Hope the meeting goes well with China over the weekend. Yeah, inshallah. By the way, very interesting. The Chinese hardware, military hardware, has proven very effective in the conflict between Pakistan and India. You have basically China being the main supplier of Pakistan and had a pretty great showing against India in the recent conflict. And Rafael planes and other Western weapons manufacturers are probably not happy with the performance of their hardware. I wonder if this weighs on the probability of conflict and maybe making it more likely if China feels like their weapon systems are now tested against Western weapon systems, maybe higher probability that something happens with Taiwan, or maybe less aggressiveness from the West. Who knows? We shall see, but interesting development there. Thank you, Lubna. I really appreciate that. Ace says, Salam, what are your thoughts on Tesla given revenue from EVs are falling, but robotaxi launch in June? Well, I will tell you, Tesla's our biggest position. So those are my thoughts. I put my money where my mouth is. And I believe Tesla is close to an inflection point. And, my goal is to get our PIF portfolio to 300 shares because my goal is to get 1,000 Halal-conscious investors to $1 million. I think if we get our PIF portfolio to 300 shares, inshallah, these 300 shares will become worth $1 million in the future. And I see you, Niznaz. Renegade, Assalamu alaikum. Do you think Doge will move up? Yes, I do. Muhammad Malik, Salam, brother. I have been just holding my BTC. Do you think it's worth taking some profits from BTC? Depends on what your goals are, brother, and what you want to do with the money. But as a general rule, I like to take profits on the way up. But if you're okay with, a pullback, it's not going to affect you at all. You think you have the temperament for it, just hodl. And I think, as you saw in that slide about the potential of BTC, this thing could go a lot higher. Turkish jammers also used according to some analysts. Yep, the Turkish manufacturing in general is really on the up and up. I experienced that when I was living in Turkey. The Turkish products are comparable to any other product produced by very well-known companies in the West. Still looking for good Turkish companies that are accessible to PIF members so that we can invest in them. If you have any suggestions for that, something that's available on major brokerages, then let me know. Abdul Al-Amarati. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Bitdeer went up. Do you recommend taking some profits? Well, that's why we have take profits prices, Abdul. But if it makes you feel happier, then take some profits. For me, Bitdeer is more longer term, but I do think it makes sense that when you have very strong days to take some profit. By Pakistan, who is using the equipment is also a very important factor. Yes, indeed, brother. And the Pakistanis are an extremely impressive people. Very extremely high IQ. So I'm not surprised. Isfend says, hey, nice to see you, Isfend. It's been a while. Assalamu alaikum, Rakaan. Thank you for all that you do. Well, it's my pleasure, brother. Nice of you to drop in. Tempest AI. I might do a live on them soon. Check out our Lubna. Check out our take profits price. That's a good company. We're actually discussing their earnings report today. So, yeah, I'll have more to share with PIF members, inshallah, tomorrow. Best fighter jet is not enough. Flying the best pilots with skills make the difference, of course. And the faith, yes. Alhamdulillah. Do you believe Bitdeer will go up to 24, inshallah? Who knows? But I think on a long enough time scale it will. What do you think of investing in Turkey's real estate? Well, Warren Buffett was saying, I highly advise listening to his talk over the weekend, sharing his wisdom, investing wisdom. And he was mentioning like real estate is a lot more difficult than stocks are. Highly recommend watching that video. But if you're familiar with Turkey's real estate market, and you have someone there that can help you and you trust them, then yes, maybe. But I mean, Turkey's real estate is, Turkey's a big country, so it really depends on what you're talking about. Some real estate is going to do fantastic. I think generally they'll appreciate. Will they appreciate as fast as, I don't know, the PIF portfolio? I don't know. It depends on what particular piece of real estate we're talking about. Muhammad Malik says, Jazakallah for the reply. I am in it for the long term with BTC and Sol. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Wa yakum, Muhammad. And I think that I'll probably sell Sol. I know I've mentioned in the 300s. Maybe I'll do it in the 200s. We'll see. With that being said, leave a like, as I mentioned. Become a PIF member if you aren't already. Love you all. Thanks for coming. Until next time, take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum, and peace be upon you all.